Hi, I'm Keenan. This video is on statistics for WGU. I will say that I took a statistics class somewhat recently at a different university, so this class didn't take me too long. Might take someone else a little longer, but there's a lot of vocabulary to this class and statistics in general. One thing that I did was, and I mean I've talked about this in past videos, was I took the pre-test, and then I went over all of the things that I wrote down all of the questions and the answer, and then highlighted in red the ones that I didn't recognize, the vocabulary I didn't recognize, and the ones that I did, I put in blue. And then went through and studied the ones that were red, reviewed the ones that were red. There is a lot of distributions and skewed, like is it skewed right, skewed left. There is sampling, what kind of sample is what, test statistics, critical value, and then hypothesis, a lot of like, is this hypothesis null or not null? And that's pretty straightforward if you just know how to do the math. There is like percentages on like the different standard deviations and what percentages, the p-values. Oh, one thing that got me is they talk a lot, they do a lot like of questions about like graphs and what graph do you use for what the different graphs mean, if a specific graph is reliable or not, and all of that I didn't really talk about in normal university, because our professor figured it wasn't something that we really needed to know. But yeah, that's something that's on the test. There's a lot of vocabulary for the different like data types, like numerical, categorical, and then with like those are like two different things, and then underneath those there's nominal and ordinal, and under numerical there's discrete and continuous, I think. Yeah. And a lot of that you need to know. Just a lot of vocabulary. If you go through the practice test, it does a lot of questions on those, the vocabulary, so you can understand like what vocabulary you need to know going into the test. And I think the test is very similar to the practice test. It's been a second since I took it, but if I remember correctly, I remember there's obviously some differences, but if you could pass the pre-test and you understand everything on the pre-test, it's not necessarily like pass the pre-test like just barely, and a lot of guesswork and multiple choice, crossing out and finding the right answer. If you're doing any of that stuff on the pre-test, probably should study up a little more. But if you understand all the concepts on the pre-test and the vocabulary on the pre-test, then going into the OA, you'll be able to like if you know all the concepts on the practice test, then going into the OA, you'll be able to pass it, whether you know 100% all of it, or if you do the multiple choice crossing off thing. I think I took the pre-test like once when I first got in, because I already took statistics, and then like 2 more times after that. The second time was more to just write everything down, write all the questions down and the right answer down. And then the third time was to see if I like 100% knew the material without any notes. And so you can do that if you want to. Obviously there's different strategies to these, but that's most of the material that I feel like you guys need to know. It's mostly those graphs, a lot of vocabulary, distributions, hypothesis, null hypothesis, and if you know those things, then you're pretty solid. Yeah, so hopefully that helped. Drop a like if it helped. Comment if you have any questions. Try to get out to all my comments, but YouTube is not my life. So yeah, hopefully that helped. Bye.